Alright guys, it's April 25th and here comes hopefully the most exciting and awesome boring video that you've seen before. We're gonna finish up with the engine tuning, maybe not, but let's go one at a time. Basically, we have our torque curve and our points at the torque curve. Torque 123, RPM 123, and as you can see, I represent them with the little circles. Now the adjustments that we could make, obviously, if you've been editing physics before, and I know for sure that people that I care about understand what I'm saying, we have options of increasing torque 3, I hope this demonstrates it to you nicely, decreasing torque 3, torque 1, I apologize. Then we could move it up in the RPM, or we could drop the RPM, and we could drop the RPM even to the minus, like say minus 10,000, minus 100 RPM, which is not realistic at all, but I'll show you maybe sometime in the future that even that is possible, and that creates some kind of actually interesting changes, but let's not talk about weird stuff too much. Torque 2 has the same line of adjustments. Basically we have 4 ways to go: increase, decrease, more RPM, less RPM. And you could see how by doing that I could structure my, let's call it primitive inline or linear torque curve. That, this is as much information for us to estimate a torque curve that would look something like this. At this point in time you could just pretend that the sound of leaf blowers outside my window is air titans drying out the track, and that might make you think feel a little better. I hope, I don't know. You just have to bear with me because I'm not waiting for those guys to finish. Anyway, whatever, our torque curve is gonna look like that with, where was the last line? Oh, thank you very much, they stopped. Come on, where was it? Let's make this one in red real quick. The fall off line, like from the previous video, we do not know where that is going to line up. I guess not. Hello. So I'm just gonna leave it like that till we find out. Then let's go to the next step. Second thing what we have is in-game RPM gauge, temperature gauges, and other stuff as well. And the numbers that we're running are the PSI from the earlier video, 112, 143, 118, and 118 would be the indicated mean effective pressure instead of brake, so that needs to be lowered and adjusted. I showed you the math in the previous video, and a good range is between like 100 and 110, for testing and stuff like that. We'll do that as well, but for now we'll have to run our indicated mean effective pressures and record our findings. Just to show you guys an extra piece, right here is a blank for the engine. You can see the RPM 2 and 3. You can see torque 1, torque 2, and torque 3 at 111, which is almost 112, 143, and 118. That's the numbers that we're gonna run. I'm gonna skip forward, and the results that we should get with this is it's gonna idle at about 1400 RPM, and this separate research that I'm gonna do on idle later on that. And then red line limit was set at 20,000 RPM, so the engine could rev as high as it wants to, or as high as it can. And basically we topped off somewhere at around 66, 6700 RPM was our red line, no load, no limit in neutral. And I'll show you a little piece of the video to demonstrate that, and then we're gonna analyze and do our first adjustments, and then I'll show you the effects of other types of adjustments that you can make. Once again, I have to remind you, because no modifications were made to the chassis and the tires, well, so much the chassis is more important. Our testing should look like this. We're running a 283 engine in a CTS truck chassis. So the only test that I'm going to make right now would be revving it in neutral to see how well our engine can rev up, how well it can breathe. It depends on volumetric efficiency. How much air can you make, can you ingest at a certain RPM. Naturally aspirated engine is gonna run out of air. Turbo engine is gonna have way better stats in those terms. So anyway, let's take a first rev. Notice how high it's gonna go. I showed you the previous results, about 67, 6600 RPM. Let's just verify that it's correct. The outside gauge is lying, by the way. Let's go on the inside gauge, a little bit more accurate. 69. Big line. Right here, look, 75. Here's 69. 69 is more correct, I have to tell you. So we're gonna go with the basic inside gauge readings from now on, just to be sure, because they seem to be more accurate. Alright, so as the air titans are continuing to clear up the track, we're gonna adjust our lab readings right here to 69. What was the red line? 67. Well, I guess I lied to you a little bit right there. Not sure about the exact idle, I forgot to measure it, but I think it's about the same. So alright, but that was 118 on the BMEPs, I mean on the IMEP. I know that regular engines lose about 15% between IMEP and BMEP, and NASCAR engines lose it about 12. So what I'm going to do is go to percentage difference calculator, and we want the percentage difference calculator, not percentage decrease or increase. And we're gonna put 118 and a good value, let's say 107. See the difference of 9%. How about 102? Difference of 14.5. How about 101? 15.5. So somewhere between 101ish, that would be our new value for the BMEP if we were out to say that how much useful power actually reaching the crankshaft at that moment. Let's go back and adjust this to 101 psi, and that's going to be our adjusted BMEP value. Boom. Go to our profile, find where we have the 118 value, and we're just gonna adjust it to 101. Now this stuff has been corrected, so this is pretty much would be your first raw accurate edit. As I say, like the first raw accurate base data is after you correct the IMEP to BMEP. Put that in green too. There you go. Now this is more or less complete profile of how it should run. Let's take a look how it's gonna behave. Okay, so the air titans finished clearing out the track, and we're ready to make a pass or whatnot. Let me point out that the idle is about actually 1100 RPM and not 14. I will adjust that. Let's take a rev with the adjusted BMEP values for torque 3. This would pretty much would be a realistic engine, like how it's supposed to behave. 59. That is all I wanted to show for now. Okay, at this point we adjusted our torque 3 to 101 BMEP values. We don't know exactly what this value should be, so it could be 103 plus minus. That's what we're gonna do our adjustments on torque 3 and torque 1. I don't believe the RPM values should be adjusted, especially this value should not be messed with. I believe that is the rating of your engine at the point of maximum torque. That's when you're making the maximum brake horsepower. That's when blah yada 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 for the naturally aspirated one, at least. So do not touch this RPM, do not touch this PSI calculation. That would be accurate right away in the BMEP. then adjust this one by about 15-12%. We got our readings. Now we could adjust our red line. Before it was about 69, now it's about 59. And for this, let me go to my own Reddit post right here and show you the options. The engine that we have programmed is a single 4-barrel carb, blah blah blah, 230 brake horsepower gross, the lowest slowest one in the lineup. And you could see how this one has the red line limiter, I mean recommended red line at about 5500 rpm. Next one in line is a 2-barrel carb with more horsepower, regular camshaft, but that one is still rated at 5.5 red line recommended right here. Now as we scroll down to the 2-barrel carbureted engine with the special camshaft, which was rated at 270 horsepower, which is the top line carbureted engine 283 that was available. We're not talking about fuel injection ones, because the fuel injection one had a regular cam and a special cam as well. Now basically this 2-barrel special cam engine has a tachometer right here, so it's 6.5, but that's the top one of the line with 270 horsepower. The guy we got is a single 4-barrel with 230. That's gross horsepower. But anyway, seems to be more correct having the red line at 69 7000, like the top of the line 270 horsepower special cam vet, or at 59, assuming that we should shift somewhere at about 55 like they recommend on the line. So we have historically struck the point where it's accurate, boom, by adjusting the top torque tree right here to the BMEP values. We brought the RPM down to more or less realistic values from 6.5, I mean 6.9, now it's about 5.9. That's top red line. Basically, now the alarm goes off, you hear that? Amazing, you know, someone trying to steal NASCAR tires or something. Anyway, at this point, the most important part of the video comes right now, and that one is we can adjust, as I said, come on, torque 3. We could move that one up and down a little bit. I wouldn't recommend messing with the RPM if you're going by the realistic engine and you already have the RPM specs. If you're making your own engine or your head, sure, you can increase or decrease the RPM as well. But since we have the RPM stats already, we could up and down a little bit on torque 3, or we could up and down a little bit on torque 1. I wouldn't touch this one. And then I'll show you both, and I'll show you the effects on the red line and just the whole overall engine performance. This would be the most important part. If you are coping with this up to now, you're gonna do great in the last part. Once again, I don't think I'm gonna fit on the main important information in this video, but I'm gonna make a brief ending at least. For the next one, we have adjustments on torque 1 and adjustments on torque 3 and the whole overall torque curve relationship. Torque 1 will depend on how fast the car is going to take off on a low RPM. Well, if it's going to take off fast or it's going to take off slow. Then decreasing torque 1 is going to increase torque 3 and vice versa. Increasing torque 3, I'm not actually sure about vice versa, but dropping torque 1 will give you more RPM at the top end. This is basically how we're going to run our adjustments. If your engine is not revving high enough, or is it not performing at the top speed that is correct, two options you could do. You could increase this guy and give it more power at the top RPM, or you could drop the takeoff a little bit and that will give it top power, top RPM a little bit more. So there is a relationship based on some kind of formula that runs in the hard code that we don't know about, and we could only estimate and take observations and go from there. There is no scientific mathematical proof for this relationship without looking at the hard code anymore. So I'm just gonna talk about the procedures and like how you could massage the feel of the engine a little bit while still being accurate and realistic, and probably that's gonna be the next video, and I'll see you guys later. Sorry for talking so much without giving you know, important information in a short period of time. But apologies for that. See you in the next one, and hopefully we'll be done with the engine tuning.